Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Saga Communications fourth quarter and year-end earnings release conference call. At this time, all participants have been placed on a listen-only mode. It is now my pleasure to turn the floor over to your host, Ed Christian, President and CEO. Sir, the floor is yours.
Tom, thank you so much, and we'll see you back at the end of the call. Sam is also on with me, as historic as this has been. Sam, I wish that I could start the call by singing the Fred Rogers theme song of "It's a Wonderful Day in the Neighborhood," but I'm somewhat aggravated right now, and I've had to rewrite my remarks and do a number of changes on the spot here. But I'll turn it over to you and just quietly sit here and go to my special silent place so that I'm ready when you are. So go right ahead.
I think that's a good thing to do. This call will contain forward-looking statements about our future performance and results of operations that involve risks and uncertainties that are described in the Risk Factors section of our most recent Form 10-K. This call will also contain a discussion of certain non-GAAP financial measures. Reconciliation for all the non-GAAP financial measures to the most directly comparable GAAP measure are attached in the selected financial data table. First, I strongly believe that what is going on this morning in our stock is not appropriate. Last I saw, we traded down to a low of $21 per share today. We are now at $23.10 on 752 shares trading. This, as I believe, the overall market situation is an overreaction to the coronavirus and has no basis in Saga's actual financial performance. And as Ed has already indicated, is extremely frustrating to all of us. Going on. As I reported in the press release, excluding political revenue, gross revenue for the fourth quarter and the total year were approximately flat with the respective periods in 2018. Political revenue for the quarter this year was $535,000 compared to $1.6 million for the quarter last year, and $887,000 for all of 2019 compared to $2.9 million for all of 2018. Station operating expense remained a strong point with a decrease of $711,000 for the quarter and $1 million for the year. On a same station basis, our expense controls resulted in a $1.7 million reduction in station operating expenses for the quarter and $4.7 million for the year. Free cash flow was $5.4 million for the quarter and $18.1 million for the year. Free cash flow for both the quarter and the year were down from the comparable periods in 2018, primarily due to the impact of the reduction in Saga's deferred tax provision due to a timing difference related to depreciation and amortization between 2018 and 2019. For the quarter, our deferred tax provision was $320,000 compared to $780,000 last year. And for the year, it was $1.4 million in 2019 compared to $2.7 million in 2018. Even with the additional CapEx-related expenses associated with our Charleston, Hilton Head, and Gainesville, Ocala acquisitions, along with the Norfolk Tower build that we have previously talked about, our CapEx was $1.1 million for the fourth quarter and $5.7 million for the year. For the year, 2018 CapEx was $5.9 million. We expect CapEx for 2020 to be between $5 million and $5.5 million. To better understand our calculations of free cash flow, net income, and net income per share, we've included a couple of additional reconciliation tables as part of the supplemental financial data section of our press release. At the end of the quarter, we had $10 million in debt outstanding. Cash on hand at the end of the quarter was $44 million. As of March 9th, we had $47 million in cash. Including the recently announced 32 cents per share dividend, which will be paid on April 10th, 2020, we will have paid over $71 million in dividends since December 3rd, 2012. The recently announced dividend is an increase of 2 cents per share, 6.7%, and is the third increase in the dividend amount being paid since we started paying regular quarterly dividends July 25th, 2014. We intend to continue to pay regular quarterly cash dividends in the future, as well as considering special cash and stock dividends as declared by our board of directors. We expect same-station operating expenses to be down 2 to 3% for 2020. One major reason is that for the foreseeable future, we will no longer be subscribing to a national rating service in some of our markets. We expect interest expense for 2020 to be around $700,000. We expect our ongoing tax rate to be 29 to 30%, including an 8 to 10% deferred tax rate. And Ed, with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Sam. I think I've regained some of my composure, and we can move forward on that, at least for a little bit. You did a good job summing it up. And now I'd like to add a little detail and color to last year and Q4. As previously reported by our peers in the radio industry, it was not a progressive year. Here's what occurred at Saga. If some of you listening remember my Q4 and Q1 call last year, I mentioned that I was concerned about some small trends that we had noticed, and we were ever watchful, and indeed some acceleration occurred in certain trends. The causal effect was for us at Saga to sit down and begin to exercise a plan that we had put together and wrapped away if needed. It called for change in the way we did business and also a rededication to community commitment were the two major posts of our business. The first part, we noticed that there was a shift in acceleration in how national business was handled by the major groups. Essentially, and we've spoken about this before, national business changed from a purchase of national advertising based on individual merits to a community to a commodity sale. Again, let me repeat that. The business changed from a purchase of national advertising based on individual station merits to a commodity sale. Essentially, bulk buying at rates that were shockingly low based on quantity. It was scale and action. The mantra was, we have open spots in our inventory and will fill them at any price. We at Saga feel differently and passed. We believe that if we step off our quality side and nudge to the quantity side, we have made our first step into the river Styx, and from there was no return. So what was our plan then when we looked at this? Now, by the way, we're still getting national dollars. We didn't go to zero. Our national business is slightly off, but we did feel the pain, and we were able to notice the bulk buying going on. So what was our plan? It's not world shaking. If you're waiting for some epiphany, it's not going to really be there. But it's an emphasis on personal service with knowledgeable professionals who care about helping the customer. Pardon me. We know this works, and we can be better, and that's the thing that we're looking at. We can always do a little bit more. We can always be a little bit better. Here's what we are now doing. So please note it is ongoing. First off, we upped our recruitment of people for sales positions. We tried something different. We had our morning talents on all stations run a series of announcements, and it is ongoing, where the talent do a live and unscripted commercial on the opportunities in radio sales. We found that the recruit advertising on our stations for other companies was having tremendous results, and we go, duh. Why don't we do it on our own stations when we're looking for people in broadcasting? Well, so we upped our recruitment of people for sales positions, and that was and that is an ongoing thing. In fact, I just heard one of the commercials this morning on one of our streams. Over the years, we've tried other methods of recruitment, but honestly, this time with the tests and analysis that we do with each candidate for recruitment purposes, radio markedly outperformed other media. Once we hire somebody, we begin sessions on essentially how to sell new clients and how to understand their business. We have great information, and also hats off to the Radio Advertising Bureau for complete programs on how to train and educate new sellers. We also implemented new processes and procedures for performance measurements. It's working, and our new business count is increasing on a daily basis. It's a wonderful thing to watch. We also hired Tom Callahan, former head of the Southern California Broadcasters Association. I've known Tom for about 30 years, and Tom is heading up teaching, training, mentoring, and performance of our people. His title is New Business Development, but boy, oh boy, he does more. and he's made a difference in working with all the new hires, and really just showing them the way on how to do the direct sales, direct business sales. When I talk about this and I talk about service, let me give you an example on this. First off, we did take our conversion lumps in Q3 and Q4 and made a lot of changes. It's effective, and when fully implemented, it will prove to be not just Saga, but for the industry. If others follow, a rebirth of quality and responsible advertising will occur. Clients will be treated as individuals, and where specific issues and problems are addressed in a helpful and supportive position. Yeah, you can call it concierge selling if you want. Let me compare it with what's happened in the physician relationship industry with doctors. The number of private individual physicians with their own office has dropped markedly. I'm sure you've all noticed that. And what's happened is the new model is for hospitals to buy group practices. We call them by different names, but nevertheless they are own physicians in groups up to, in some groups I know that they're up to 150 people, 150 docs in a group. Some are lower, some are more than that. So the private group practices are either owned by other groups or they're owned by the hospitals. Get scale, in other words. This is the big thing today, scale. In today's medical world, if you have an appointment with a group doctor, his allocated time is 7 minutes, starting with the moment he walks in to see you and the time when he leaves. He has 7 minutes. And then he has another 2 to 3 minutes to do the notes, and 2 minutes for the notes and 1 minute to grab his breath and walk into the next office. That's true. You saw a doctor, but the question is, were your questions answered? Did you come away with somewhat of an empty feeling? If it's the same feeling you have when you wait on the phone, listening to a banal music, and a voice unknown tells you that your call is important to us, and operators are working with other customers and will be with you shortly. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that with the cable providers in our area. In the end, you may have your questions answered, but do you feel good about it? Or do you still have some nagging feeling that nobody cares about you? Well, that's where we make the difference in terms of how we build our relationships. It's a very long-term process that will pay long-term benefits. We started Saga close to 34 years ago with the premise of providing compelling local radio with creative advertising and unblemished customer service. Times have changed. Saga, however, has remained its dignity, but has had to compensate just a little to remain both competitive and profitable. Unfortunately, we may not be as bespoke as we once were. We're working on this, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that we are doing recruitment for new radio journalists. The ad started out amazing but true. Saga is hiring radio journalists. When newspapers are slashing journalists and radio is eliminating and switching to regional news hubs, we want to increase the number of radio news people in our company. Now, I'm not talking about a news reader, but I'm talking about someone who has insight and ability to write and report on local news events and get supportive audio with it. If we are truly to be local, we must make this commitment. I'll tell you a short story. Recently, I was listening to a few non-Saga radio stations. My son was with me, and we were listening to several different stations on their stream. After about an hour of switching around, he said, "Dad, I don't know if I'm listening to stations in Jacksonville or Omaha." Forgetting about your local is a sign of disrespect, both for our industry and our listeners. We will indeed relegate ourselves to instant obscurity if we forget to operate our stations with the mandate from the FCC, and before that, the FRCC. When you get your license, It is given to you to operate in the public interest, convenience, and necessity. Those words are drummed into, college students who are studying broadcasting, if there still is that art in college. But to operate in the public interest, convenience, and necessity, it was established in the 30s by the Federal Radio Commission when they were starting licensing stations. Well, our changes have been made 75-80%. We still have a little way to go. In addition, we have taken a hard look at our existing digital enhancement group. We were not satisfied with the progress and, frankly, shuttered the division, which was housed in Columbus. And we created from bottom up a new division in our corporate office. To us, radio is the branding agent, and digital is the wraparound. I probably shouldn't share this because it's kind of an inside thing. But I refer to this process with the branding from radio into digital as a wraparound, as the kiss and tickle method. So, okay, we'll move on. We have new systems, new vendors, new procedures, and fully understand the necessity to increase our digital share of revenue with a goal to be 10% of revenue. So, you now as a stakeholder have to decide if you want a company with quantity or one with quality and a long lifespan. I normally don't comment about the present. I do feel compelled to mention that we thought everything was up and running in February till the word got up that something bad was leaking out of Hunan province in China. It's a question that's going to be asked. We've experienced cancellations, but we've been able to manage and work with the clients to help provide solutions. Where we have been hit is in events, concerts, performances, sports, and venues where people congregate. I have a list here just in the last day. Now, it's interesting that automotive is saying, look, we still have to sell cars. Carpet stores are saying, look, we still have to sell carpet. But the events is been somewhat troublesome for us, especially in sports, where they're doing what they're doing. We have been hit there, but hopefully that's only temporary. Additionally, we have another vulnerability, which I want to bring up. We believe to be somewhat kind of an ouch, and we do believe it'll be short-lived. Saga was built around several premises, and that is that we wished and did acquire great media properties in, you've heard it before, state capitals, college towns, non-closable military bases, solid agricultural-based communities, and high net worth retirement areas. Now, they don't have to have all five of those categories, but they do have to have at least one of them to get our attention on this. In the last few days, more and more colleges and universities have been sending their students home to go to class remotely. And when you have 20, 30, 40, and in the case of the Ohio State University, 60,000 students leave the community, it does somewhat give pause and indigestion to merchants in that community. This is temporary and could expand to other areas, but it does give us a temporary hold about the total effect to Q1 and a spillover into Q2. The vision right there is cloudy right now. Though I believe it's going to be short-lived, and we'll get back to business as usual. And I hope that it'll be just limited to that. Nevertheless, a couple of takeaways for you. We are profitable, and we have good cash hoard. I shouldn't say the word hoard. We have good cash available to us, $47 million as of today. And precious little debt, a good dividend, right now paying 4.7%. Buy away. Not bad. And by the way, it was recently increased. Sam already told you that. This is just the reinforcement part of it. Great portfolio of carefully curated stations in solid markets. And I hope that I provided some of the color that I spoke about earlier. But if you still have unanswered questions, and we'll find out if Sam has got some secret questions there in a moment, please feel free to call us at Saga. I'm available. Sam's available. Any of our people are available. We're very open about it. We'd love to talk about radio. We're frustrated as you are. And all we can do is be better and continue to be the voice of reason in our communities, to be real journalists and talk about facts in real time, not speculate about the future or anything else like that, but provide information for security and value in people's lives. And if you do that, they will listen, they will depend upon you, and then radio advertising works. Commercial at the end there. Sam, I'll toss it back to you, see if there's any questions. If not, you can give it to Tom for our final little speech.
Yeah, well, either everybody is dumbstruck by the market, or we did a very good job, as we normally do, in our reporting. So I don't have any questions that we haven't already talked about. So I will turn it back over to Tom to wrap up the call.
Is it dumbstruck or struck dumb?
Well, I think either one of those would work well with what's going on in the markets these days.
What would they say in Indiana, Sam?
I don't know. No comment.
Okay, fine. Tom, if you're there and listening, you can wrap it up.
Thank you very much, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This does conclude today's conference call. You may disconnect your phone lines at this time and have a wonderful day. Thank you for your participation.